Trump signs orders to put tariffs on Mexico, China, and Canada. It's already affecting the markets. The US stock market has crashed. The dollar has risen around the world. The dollar has gotten stronger. And I'll explain in a little while why that's not a great thing. It's a good thing for a certain community of people, but not a great thing. Trump's tariffs are 25% on Mexico and Canada and 10% on China. And they all have promised to retaliate with their own tariffs. So what does that mean? That means inflation on all the stuff coming in from Mexico, China, and Canada. And also everything we buy from those countries is going to cost more. So Trump bringing down prices is not a thing. It's not going to happen. So if you voted for Trump because you wanted the economy to get better, well, it's not. It's going to get worse before it gets better, if it gets better. And before the Great Depression in 1929, we had a tariff war, and our president at the time put in a bunch of tariffs, which led us into the Great Depression, that sent us into the Great Depression. And afterwards, the WTO was formed, the World Trade Organization, which got tariff wars under control. The World Trade Organization is basically a place where countries go and negotiate tariffs without just throwing, ham-handed tariffs on each other like Trump is doing right now. So let's watch this CBS News report on it, and I'll comment along the way.
President Trump has signed an executive order that imposes steep new tariffs on goods from Mexico, Canada, and China. And Canada responding hours later with retaliatory tariffs of its own, while Mexico said it was planning to issue tariffs on the U.S. as well. CBS's Chanel Call reports from New York.
President Trump declared an economic emergency in order to place duties of 10% on all imports from China and 25% on imports from Mexico and Canada.
It's also iffy whether President Trump can declare an economic emergency, but basically the Supreme Court and all of Congress is in his back pocket, so nobody's going to do anything about it. But it's technically against the law, but it's a gray area. He's using, the fentanyl. It's reserved for times of war, but he's calling the fentanyl crisis and the immigration crisis, a war on America.
Tariffs are set to go into effect on Tuesday. The president's actions involving the largest U.S. trade partners drew swift condemnation from Democratic leaders.
I think we might want to call this the Donald Trump Super Bowl tax, with the big game coming next week. If avocados, tomatoes, beer from Mexico, price is going to go up.
What's that going to mean? Higher prices for New Yorkers, higher prices for Americans. It's going to affect almost everything.
Tariffs don't cause inflation, they cause success. There could be some temporary short-term disruption, and people will understand that.
On social media, President Trump wrote that tariffs were necessary to protect Americans, to pressure the three nations to do more to curb the manufacture and export of illicit fentanyl. He also wants Canada and Mexico to reduce illegal immigration into the U.S.
Absolutely. Fentanyl through Canada, human trafficking through Canada, also with China in that mix for fentanyl as well.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau pushed back.
Our border is already safe and secure, but there's always more work.
It's just laughable that he's putting these tariffs/taxes on Canada to stop the incoming fentanyl and migrants. As Trudeau's about to say, it's about 1% on each that come from Canada. Most of it is obviously from the southern border. What he's really trying to do is to, beat Canada into submission so they become the 51st state, which is just this crazy idea. It's just this crazy idea he has in his head that Canada will ever become the 51st state. Why would they want that? They have free health care. Would they want to come into our nightmarish healthcare system where people die because they're denied services all the time because they don't have money in our country? It's insane.
To do. Less than 1% of fentanyl, less than 1% of illegal crossings into the United States come from Canada.
Trudeau also said Canada would slap 25% tariffs on up to $155 billion on goods, including alcohol and fruit.
Okay, so there you have it. Trump's tariffs have started, or they start on Tuesday, and the retaliatory tariffs from Mexico and Canada have already been announced, and China has as well. So we'll see what happens. But it's already affected the dollar. The US dollar has gained a lot of strength since this happened, which isn't necessarily a good thing. And the stock market has started to crash. I don't know if you're into Bitcoin. If you looked at your Bitcoin, Bitcoin's gone down like $10,000 overnight. All of it. The Chinese market's crashing, or the Asian market's crashing, the European market's crashing. The euro lost strength. There's a good article in Reuters about it, and I'm going to cover that right now. Okay, the article is headlined, Stocks Slump, Dollar Soars as Trump Tariffs Trigger Trade War Fear. Tokyo, February 3rd. Asian stock markets slumped on Monday, and U.S. equity futures pointed sharply lower after U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China triggered fears of a broad trade war and hit to global growth. The US dollar shot to a record peak against the Chinese yuan in offshore trading, and its highest against Canada's currency since 2003, and the strongest against the Mexican peso since 2022. So that's good for some people like me. I'm in the Philippines right now, and if I transfer money over, which I'm going to do later today, the Philippines peso went from 55 pesos to a dollar to 58 pesos to a dollar. So if I send money to my bank account here right now, then I will have more money than I would have yesterday in pesos. So the dollar being strong is good for some people. But if you're a US business exporting goods, especially, that means everything you export costs more. So if somebody in China is buying your widgets for so much money and they've gone up 2, 3, 4%, they're probably going to buy a third or two-thirds less than they would have, or maybe none, and wait for the dollar to lose strength before they buy more. So this is one way that tariffs hurt U.S. businesses. Japan's Nikkei share average tumbled as much as 2.3% in early trading, and Australia's benchmark AXJO, which often functions as a proxy for Chinese markets, slumped more than 2%. Stocks in Hong Kong, which include listings on the Chinese companies, fell 1.9% after the Lunar New Year holiday. China's markets will open again on Wednesday. Pan-European stocks, s.tariffs, that's their market, 50 futures sank 2.7%, where Trump followed through with threats to slap Canada and Mexico with duties of 25% and China with 10%, with a 10% levy at the weekend, calling them necessary to combat the flow of migrants and fentanyl into the U.S. Canada and Mexico immediately vowed retaliatory measures, and China said it would challenge Trump's levies at the World Trade Organization, the WTO. The tariffs outlined in 3 executive orders are due to take effect at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. Trump's move was the first strike in what could usher in a destructive global trade war and drive a surge in U.S. inflation that would come even faster and be larger than we initially expected, said Paul Ashworth of Capital Economics. A model gauging the economic impact of Trump's tariffs plan from EY chief economist Greg Dacko suggests it would reduce U.S. economic growth by 1.5 percentage points this year, throw Canada and Mexico into recession, and usher in stagflation at home. Barclays strategists previously estimated that the tariffs could create 2.8% drag on the S&P 500 company earnings, including the projected fallout from retaliatory measures from the targeted countries. So what happened to Trump bringing down prices and making the economy so much better? The economy was already on its way up under Biden, and now it's going down. S&P, let's see, the US dollar was up 0.5% at 7.3 yuan. The offshore market in Asia, having earlier hit a record high of 7.3 onshore, trading remained shut. The US currency climbed 2.8% to the Mexican peso. The euro dropped as much as 2.3%. U.S. 2-year Treasury yields rose as much as 3.5 percentage points to 4.2%, a one-week high on concerns tariffs will stoke U.S. inflation and delay interest rate cuts. 2-year Japanese government bond yields rose in synchrony, reaching their highest levels since October 2008. The cryptocurrency Bitcoin tumbled as low as 92,000, a 3-week low, with U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude up 1.8% to 73.80 a barrel, and Brent crude futures adding 0.7% to 76.2 per barrel. So there you have it, guys. You could expect to see gas a few cents higher at the pump this week. Avocados, vegetables, fruits from Mexico higher. Basically everything's going to go up. So welcome to Trump's economy. I hope you got what you voted for. See you next time.